Hello everyone and welcome to the School of Serenity. In this video, I want to discuss an interesting subject, which is road rage. I've been noticing more and more cases of road rage, and I wanted to understand the root cause of such incidents. I decided to do some research about this topic, and this is a summary of my findings. I'm going to cover the following topics in this video. Number one, the brain region involved in activating our responses to stressful situations such as traffic incidents. Number two, the brain region involved in inhibiting those responses. And number three, why some people are more likely to engage in road rage than others. The modern world, with all its increasing congestion, hectic pace, stress, and constant bombardment of our senses with arousing stimuli, puts our brains on high alert, making it more likely to go off in response to trivial provocations. According to recent statistics, nearly 80% of drivers express significant anger, aggression, or road rage behind the wheel at least once in the past year. In order to understand how road rage incidents occur, we should understand how we respond to external stimuli. To do so, we need to trace the specific neural circuits inside our brains that are responsible for forming our reactions. The first one is the amygdala that generates our unconscious arousal to external stimuli and has the potential to unleash a road rage response. The second one is the Prefrontal cortex, which is part of the conscious mind that decides if the brain's road rage response produced by the amygdala should be inhibited or not. Let's discuss these two parts of the brain in more detail. The amygdala activation mechanism. Early humans were exposed to the constant threat of being killed or injured by wild animals or other tribes. To improve the chances of survival, the fight or flight response evolved. It is an automatic response to physical danger that allows you to react quickly without thinking. The amygdala is part of your subconscious mind that controls your fight or flight response. When the threat is mild or moderate, another part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex can override the amygdala and you respond in a rational, appropriate way. However, when the threat is strong, the amygdala acts quickly. It may overpower the prefrontal cortex, automatically triggering the fight or flight response. The fight or flight response was appropriate for early humans because of threats of physical harm. However, today there are far fewer physical threats. The prefrontal cortex inhibition mechanism. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that enables us to make rational, sound decisions. This brain region is responsible for planning complex cognitive behavior, personality expression, decision-making, and more importantly, moderating social behavior. In summary, the prefrontal cortex is responsible for emotional regulation. Emotional regulation or self-regulation, in the most basic sense, involve controlling one's behavior, emotions, and thoughts in the pursuit of long-term goals. Therefore, the basic activity of the prefrontal cortex is considered to be social control, which is the ability to override urges that, if not suppressed, could lead to socially unacceptable outcomes. How is this related to road rage? The short answer is that people with dysfunctional or weakened prefrontal cortex are more likely to be involved in road rage. That is because for these individuals, the part of the brain that is responsible for inhibiting the aggression caused by external triggers is not as strong as it should be. Therefore, these people have a lower threshold of tolerance and are easily triggered. In other words, they snap easily even in response to trivial situations. In order to understand why some people are more likely to be involved in road rage, we need to understand what factors negatively impact the prefrontal cortex. Here are the three main reasons why certain folks have dysfunctional or weakened prefrontal cortex, which results in poor self-regulation and inhibitory control. Number 1, childhood traumas. Childhood traumas and other adverse experiences have serious negative impacts on the developing brain of children. Children exposed to maltreatments suffer from cognitive deficits and have difficulties with self-regulation. Traumas can have negative lifelong behavioral implications that can only be treated by seeking professional help. This is because childhood trauma adversely affects physical development, which is required for building up self-regulatory abilities in these children. In several scientific studies, adults with a history of abuse or neglect have shown to have difficulty with self-control. One obvious consequence is that such individuals will have a difficult time adjusting their responses in road rage situations when triggered by other drivers. Number 2, drugs and alcohol. One effect of chronic use of drugs and alcohol is the long-term damage to the brain. Drug and alcohol consumption have adverse effects on certain regions in the brain that results in deficits in brain functions. Brain imaging research has shown that the prefrontal cortex is particularly vulnerable to the effects of long-term drug and alcohol abuse. This means that drug and alcohol abuse over a long period of time will damage regions of the brain that control key cognitive abilities. In particular, since the prefrontal cortex is responsible for self-regulation, individuals with drug and alcohol addiction have considerably lower self-control and inhibition. As a result, individuals with drug and alcohol abuse problems are also more likely to be involved in road rage altercations. Their lack of self-control makes it harder for them to think logically and show inhibition when triggered by external events. Number 3, anxiety and depression. As discussed earlier, the prefrontal cortex, the most evolved brain region, plays a key role in our highest order cognitive abilities such as self-control. However, it is also the brain region that is most sensitive to detrimental effects of stress exposure. Even quite mild, acute, uncontrollable stress can cause a rapid and dramatic loss of prefrontal cognitive abilities. Additionally, prolonged and chronic stress exposure causes architectural changes in the prefrontal cortex. Individuals with serious mental illness such as anxiety, stress, and depression frequently exhibit impairments in self-regulation and cognitive control. Stressful life situations can create a cascade effect on self-regulatory capacities that may lead to disastrous consequences. That is why people who suffer from mental illnesses are also more likely to be involved in road rage situations. Their weakened prefrontal cortex part of the brain simply does not have the strength to inhibit them from engaging in aggressive and combative encounters. I hope that you liked this video. If you have any feedback or suggestions, please add them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. Also make sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my future videos. It's Jay Sreen. Thank you and take care.